Don't open no text messages. Don't text your wife and nothing like that. I'm recording, by the way. But so everybody, welcome to the Kid Casper podcast. I've created this platform to give other artists, other creatives, the opportunity to tell their story, kind of pick their brains a little bit, ask them their opinions about trending topics, pressing issues and stuff like that. We're going to get into fashion. We're going to talk about top fives. So yeah, we're going to try to crack the anonymity egg. And everybody, introducing to you, for y'all that don't know, this is my producer, my brother in arms. I talk to this man all day. When we hang out, I swear we hang out like well past like the midnight hours. But everybody, this is GlassMan.
What's up?
All right, everybody. So for those that don't know, GlassMan is one of my producers. He's somebody that I have one of his beats off of my upcoming album. I also, he owes me a couple of verses, but we're gonna get into that later. He's slacking a little bit, but I've slacked on him a little bit too, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's mutual.
It's definitely mutual. We are human beings. But man, I'm just, I know you very, very well, I would say. I probably know you better than most people. I think the person that probably knows you the best is probably your wife. I don't know. We'll go into debate about that later. I don't know. But I mean, who knows? But man, I know a little bit about your upbringing and everything like that. But for people that don't know, where are you from, man?
Yeah, man. So I was born in small town Cecil County, Maryland, Elkton to be exact, and currently living in a town not too far from there. So
okay. So I mean, at least to my knowledge, I think of Cecil County, how certain areas you can say like has like a heavy like hip hop influence and everything like that. You think of places like Baltimore, you think of places like at least for me, because I study and like I've watched out for like battle rap culture and everything like that, PG County, DC for sure, but Cecil County, Cecil, Tucky, where the country folk live at. How did you get into hip hop? And I guess, when did it spark an interest in you? When did it draw you in? Like, what was it? Or do you even remember the first moment where hip hop like adopted you and like grabbed you in, and you've pretty much started even yourself creating your own hip hop music?
yeah, I mean, very, very early on, and it wasn't because of the area I live at all. I mean, it's all country out here. Everybody's jamming whatever's on the country stations, and some of the youth is doing hip hop because it's like the poppin' thing now. But back then, like, that was unheard of. Like, if you were listening to any hip hop, you were like a weirdo, or you're like, outcast. So I would say, I actually was talking to somebody about this the other day. The first time that I remember hearing like a hip hop song that like I really resonated with was "Hard Knock Life" by Jay-Z.
Okay.
And I was listening to it on one of those CD player like boombox deals that my dad had for work.
Okay.
And he listened to everything. There wasn't a genre of music that man doesn't listen to still. And that was one of the albums that he had bought, was I think it was Volume 2, Jay-Z Volume 2.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's cool, man, because that's something that I don't even think I've never actually asked you that, because to me, like, when I connect with different artists, I never really, like, I don't get the chance to like pick their brain and like ask, when did hip hop adopt you? You feel me? And that's just something I've always wondered about, because I knew you grew up in Cecil County, but the few times I've been in Cecil County, Northeast, Elkton, Rising Sun, I don't see like you tell me that all you hear is country. There's a very country ambiance that's kind of just all over that county. And it's just kind of cool knowing that it's still, I mean, hip hop is universal. So, I mean, there's different like areas. When you go from like New York type hip hop, when you talk about Baltimore type hip hop, when you talk about West Coast, all up and down the West Coast from like Seattle, Washington, all the way to like California. And then you think of like Southern hip hop. um, so you said your dad listened to Jay-Z. Talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So my dad has always been like just a music guy. He listens to everything. It doesn't matter what it is. If it sounds good, he's rocking it. Like, I mean, even in my teenage years, my dad was a complete atheist, and so was I. But he'd be jamming California Love, and then right after California Love, he'd be putting on Kirk Franklin, "Looking for You." So like,
Oh,
he
you got
he'd
it
be
all.
he'd be completely drunk listening to Kirk Franklin.
Oh man.
Like, yeah, like it was pretty wild. Like and you know, and the weird thing is I'm the same way musically. I don't stick to one genre. Like, I listen to metal, I listen to rock, I listen to, pop, I listen to whatever. I predominantly listen to a lot of hip hop recently in the past years because, that's what I've been doing. But I mean, I'm the same way. I listen to just about everything. So
Okay. Now just from like our conversations in the past, there was a couple of times that I've picked you and your wife's brains, and I remember I think in high school, maybe, or maybe it was after high school. You said that you were in a band or something of that type of setting. Uh,
no, I wasn't in a band. I hung around people that were like in bands
okay.
and would go to their shows and stuff like that, and write songs with people. And I would write a guitar riff, I would write lyrics, I'd write bass, whatever, and somebody else would do the other parts. And I had some weird run-ins, people stealing songs, and albeit they weren't good songs in hindsight, but they still stole them. So,
I
but
get it.
yeah, I used to do all that stuff. So
Okay.
I still do, just smaller circle now. So
Okay. Um, yeah, because I get that completely. For myself, I'm very like I'm an introverted person at the end of the day. I still don't. It still blows my mind even how you and me like clicked up. We'll get into that later, but talk to me a little bit about, because it's funny that you brought that up. Like I said, I'm not doing any written questions or anything, but talk to me a little bit about what's important for you as far as like, I guess like when you're making music, especially when you're like coming together with other people. Talk to me a little bit about like, I guess like factors you look for, if it's chemistry, some type of like bond or relationship. Like talk to me a little bit about what I guess you expect out of coming together with other artists and other creatives when it comes to making music.
I mean, when it comes to making music, it really just needs to be people that I can hang out with, really. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be the best thing ever, because there's tons of stuff that doesn't get released. But at least in regards to like hanging, creating with people, like it just needs to be people that I think I can trust in that manner. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so I made a beat, this guy hops on my song. As long as you're not completely like talking some disgusting nonsense on the track, it's cool. Like, do your thing, however whatever you is, you know what I mean? And that's it. You know what I mean?
Okay. So the funny thing that you touch base on, you said that even the stuff that doesn't really get released. One of my favorite videos to go back to, and other people have seen it because I posted it, but one of my favorite videos, you're gonna have to find that beat, by the way. I don't know if you still have it,
Yeah, I still
but
got it.
so you
I
know
don't
what
have
I'm
the
talking about.
stems though.
But that's fine. I remember when I remember when you, me, shout out to John LaRue, and my boy Angel B, when you guys met Angel for the first time. And I
Yeah.
remember you were playing like a beat in the background. You guys were just freestyling back and forth. Everybody was 1 minute y'all freestyling about like carpet cleaner. Next minute y'all y'all are freestyling about like Febreze and whatnot. I was like, yo, like I will remember this like when I have kids. I'm gonna show these videos to like my kids. And even if I like say if I ever like get that beat, I would play that. And if I hear that beat again, that's immediately like what I'm going to like go back to as far as a memory goes.
Yeah.
Kind of touching base on that piece. Talk about, and maybe this doesn't apply to everybody, but at least for me, but music has always been like a way for me to like bookmark different things in my life. And when I say like different things in my life, like I can listen to a song that was made in like 1996, but I wasn't heavily influenced by it until like maybe like 2011 or something. Talk about how you like how music kind of it like creates like these like reference points and these like memorial stones for you in your life.
Yeah, I mean, music has always been on as long as I can remember. My dad, always had friends over playing music, hanging out. You know, he would bring his friends over and their kids, and we'd all be jamming out. And we'd be playing outside and hearing it bumping in the house, and you know, um, it was always a thing. And then when I got old enough to where I was getting birthday money and stuff, like, or in my earlier years, like 10 years old, whatever, I would get like a CD player and put a CD in that thing from my dad's massive collection of CDs, and just take a CD out and put one in there and sit down somewhere, because this is before anti-skip, and just vibe out and listen to some stuff. And even cassettes, we had cassette players and stuff, but I never had a Walkman, because we were always pretty broke. So but yeah, I mean, dude, music has always been a thing, and it's what powers me to live my everyday life. And even if I'm not creating it, I'm definitely listening to it, and learning from it, learning lessons from it, what to do, what not to do, because there's history in music. It speaks to the times of whatever it was created, and to people's personal lives, and also people's just creative strength and stuff as well, because some songs don't even have anything to do with reality. They're just things that sound good.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And then it's also beautiful. The beautiful thing I love about hip hop, you've heard my beats, so I'm super big on sampling.
Yeah.
But it's just cool how you can take something that was like made like 20 plus years ago, and then you put a new spin on it, and it like it like you not only like hear like the new vibe that you transformed it into, but you've also like it also takes you back to that reference point. Like I was just listening to the new Brandon P and Mission mixtape album. I don't know what to call it. The Barely
I think it
Finished
was a
Two.
Mission 2. Yeah, I think that's what it was called. Oh
I
yeah,
think
Barely Finished 2. Yep,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yep.
And the track that they have, it's a bop. For people that don't know, and you're dead inside, the sample that Brandon P, yo, for real, I'm sorry, yo. Like
Oh my
I
god.
grew up on some music that like it literally like I had just like you. My folks growing up, man, they would play some stuff that I got cultured to liking, even though kids my age probably wouldn't like that music. Like I grew up on, especially black kids. I didn't grow like nobody that I was like, going to school with was listening to like, especially like just like I said, it goes back to like the culture thing. But nobody like when I was going to Edgewood was listening to Guns N' Roses, Mint Condition. Mint Condition was a sample that he used. It was the Breaking My Heart track. It references the brown eyes, but man, I was listening to that, and first off, that beat is stupid. Like it's just it literally like I just want, like, it's funny, like, even though like the song altogether is hard, but I love like how he just references it, and then like he just uses a little bit of it to like kind of punch through like every couple of bars or something. So I just think that's beautiful with music in itself. You're just like, yo, he took something that was from my childhood and then transformed it into a whole different vibe. Because when you listen to that Mint Condition song, it's called Breaking My Heart. Like the man is like crying because this chick like broke his heart and everything like that. And then when you hear it, you're just like, yo, like it kind of transforms you in a way because you just feel like the urge to dance, even if you can't dance on beat or off beat. Like it's it's just beautiful, man. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm going to touch back. I'm going to go back to, I guess, like your upbringing. So you said that, I think you, one of the things you said if you were listening to hip hop, that you were one of like the weirdos or the outcasts. Did you have a problem with that growing up? And if you didn't have a problem with, well, I mean like the outcast title, and like what was it that, I guess, like what about your area that like that branded like it just wanted to like mark hip hop as like an outcast like genre for you?
I mean, it wasn't that bad once I hit like middle school,
Okay.
but like even before that, I went through a lot of different phases. I went through like, you know, a phase where I was just a regular kid. Then I was like straight up emo. Then I was like straight up all hip hop, crazy, weird hip hop, like with the ridiculous baggy pants and everything. And then
You were rocking them Foreman Mills shirts with the gangsta SpongeBob suit.
like everything, like I've been through all of it. And uh, yeah, like I, I never had a problem with being an outcast because that's always what I was. Like my dad, a lot of people don't know this. He was born, and my mom is from, so my mom's from Philly. My dad was born in New York, but from Wilmington, Delaware. And my dad was like born in a dresser drawer. Like when he, yeah, he's born in the mountains in Delaware, or, New York City. Is it New York? No, Monticello, New York. I'm sorry, Monticello, New York, where my great grandmother had a restaurant that she owned. I never met her. This is like family history or whatever.
Okay.
And so he was born up there in the mountains during a snowstorm, and his crib was a dresser drawer. So straight off the bat, like family history is like straight up weird. And then
That's
you got my
interesting.
mom. My mom's from Philly, so she grew up in Philadelphia in the city, like her whole life. So she has a different dynamic. And my dad, after he grew up, he got, he left home at an early age, um, and he went and actually like lived in New Jersey for a good period of time after he left school. Like he left before he was even an adult, like a teenager, and lived on his own and everything. So he went to live in New Jersey as a teen, just doing odd jobs and stuff, and even while my mom was still in school. So it's just crazy, like the wild different dynamics that are in my family. So like when they came together, they never end up getting married or anything, but they had like a different chemistry of people from the area because you know the area where I'm from is like country people. And over time it started getting more people from the inner cities and stuff because they're trying to get away from all the craziness to get more chill lifestyle. But and plus it's cheap back then to live out here. Now it's getting expensive because
I
they're
think you
building.
said, I think one of the things you told me when I first met you, I think you said that your house is like over, the house you live in is like over 100 years old.
Oh, the house that I live in now, yeah, it was built in the 1800s.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, the house I live in now is built in the 1800s, and I don't own it, but yeah, it's old house.
So
Yeah, but with the whole the family coming together and everything, like how my dad has that really like New Jersey and New York influence, and then my mom has that extreme Philadelphia influence. Like it's completely different from the area, so they brought that, and then all their friends and stuff are from those areas. So that's what I grew up around.
So in a weird way, because it's funny that you mentioned, I never knew this. It's funny that you mentioned like the New York and Philly. Both of those cities, though they probably didn't listen to it a lot, both of those cities are really, really big in hip hop culture. So it's kind of cool how you had these two different people coming from two different like zip codes, and then y'all moved to like a whole different state. That I imagine that that type of living area was nothing like one like your dad had growing up or your mom had growing up. um and then you touch base on diversity, um kind of coming into play as far as Cecil goes, people coming from the city and everything like that. um was there anything, I guess, like as diversity came into your area, was there anything growing up that you were like exposed to? Because people, they say like the places don't build character, it's the people that are in the these places. And they kind of adapt, they kind of like influence the, I guess, like the area and the culture around them. Was there anything that you noticed for you growing up, when this diversity started coming into like this town you were born in?
So first off, at since I was pretty much was born, my dad's best friend is a Puerto Rican dude named Orlando. So he was
That don't make no sense, but
probably,
continue.
yeah, he was the guy that me and my brothers and my
That's
sister like
wild.
looked up to as like a cool guy, because him and my dad would party every on the weekend, and have fun and whatever. And so they're always bumping music, doing that thing, and we're riding our bikes around, walking around, the neighborhood and stuff with his kids. And so we had just a complete, like, it was so diverse for us growing up. We didn't think about those things. Like, we didn't think about, like, oh, you're a Puerto Rican and I'm a white guy. It was just like, hey, what's up? You're my friend. Like, it wasn't like that. And Orlando had a son who was adopted, who was a white kid. So, his sons were David and John. So he had his biological son, and then he had his adopted son. So it was like, we never thought anything about these things. Like, until I was like in my mid teens, I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like, what? Like, I never would think about ethnicity and stuff like that until I got older, because people, you know, make narratives where in which you have to think about those things in different manners, as we all know. So
That's interesting that you say that. Because for me growing up, it was completely different. I got the "you're black" speech very early, and that's, I mean, this. We've talked about this plenty of times, but that's just because of like the climate of the country that we live in. For at least to my life, 26 years of living on this earth. But then historically, you think of like the stuff that's happened to like my people over like the last 400 years in this country. It was birthed on some of these tragedies and everything like that. So I got that speech very, very early. But I never, I guess, like for me, it never really influenced how I looked at, like, for instance, one of my, I'll never forget this. And it was his birthday the other day. This guy, and I went to the Boys and Girls Club back when I was like 10 years old. And it was this one white kid, I'll never forget. It was this one white kid, his name was Cody Hanixman, man. And this dude, I mean, like, literally, like, this kid was like, he, like, you know what ADHD is? Like, he looked like the picture definition of it. He ran up to upstairs, like, he ran up to me. He ran up to me. He was just like, "Yo, do you have $1?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And then like he like grabs my shirt, points at the vending machine, and he's like, "There's Skittles in there." Like, it was just nuts. And like, but we became boys like off rip. Like, it's funny, and it's kind of, I mean, it was kind of sad. having him as a friend, because back when, even, and you probably know this, hell, like maybe like even 10 to 15 years ago, social media wasn't where it was. I was not, when I say privileged, I was not blessed, or I was not posturing myself in the right position to get a cell phone that early in the age. So I would only see him
Yeah, me
at like,
neither.
you feel me? I would only see him at like the Boys and Girls Club. And when the summer ended, I just went back to school and everything like that. I wouldn't see him till next year. It wasn't until I think we were 12 or 13 where like we made more of like a conscious effort to like click up and everything like that. He'd spent nights over my house. I spent nights over his house. Color was just not a thing that I thought of. Um, I I guess, like, I mean, like I said, I got the speech very early, even as early as like 6. As far as you're a black kid. This is like, it's a speech that like almost every family gives like their kids if they have a person of color in their household. Um, but I didn't. When I say like I didn't see color, like it didn't weigh or waver, or there wasn't even a lot of deep thinking, like how you just said, into when I made like bonds with people. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it wasn't until I want to say like high school, when I was in marching band, and we actually were playing against Rising Sun, which happens to be your county. For people that for people that don't know, Rising Sun, historically, they're not really allies of us. That's a nice way of putting it. Not at all. Matter of fact, when I go and visit my man up in Cecil, there's some areas, like say if I'm like I run out real quick to get food, he will just straight up tell me, "Wait, where are you going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going here." He's like, "Nah, bro, let me go with you," because people be acting crazy out there. But talk to
People
me
are
a little.
crazy.
Talk to me. Yes. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, how heartbreaking was that for you growing up? Because like you said, you saw diversity very early in your lifetime, and you didn't have like a prejudice or anything towards those people. But you, when I say those people, I mean like people of color and everything like that. But to live in an area where it's the culture, pretty much. Tell me about like how heartbreaking that was for you growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I never really gave it much thought until I was older, just because like I wasn't a very political or anything like that type of person. I mean, I'm still not, but I never even gave any of that stuff thought, just because I was always had my headphones on, keeping to myself, like was not even engaged in that stuff. But like when I would talk to my friends that were going through stuff, or their families were going through stuff, like they would tell me about that stuff. And then of course I would have weird run-ins, like one of my buddies who is passed away when I was in like ninth grade, Marquis. Um, Me and him were in town one time, and like we seen a Klansman like in full garb. It's like kind of weird, and
Mm.
I didn't really even know what that meant until he said something to me, and he's like, "Bro, we should leave," and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "That's not good, bro. Like that's really bad for black people." And I was like, "That what?" Like I didn't get it. Like I didn't even know what the Klan was. So like I was completely uncultured in that regard. Like had no idea what that was. So, fast forward to now, like you still have that, there's still an entire town right like miles from me that still segregates its like internet service and stuff, because like it's like lasting effects of what used to be, like how the whole entire town was segregated from people entirely. It was like an all white only town. Like weird. So yeah.